if you set intentions, and I think that should be the word of 2025, the intention. What are you intending to have happen? No matter what, you have goals in the back of your mind you'd love to see you and your child or children hit. But a lot of times life gets in the way and then we're not even thinking about those goals, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that word intention because I am always encouraging parents to parent intentionally. Some people are like, is this like kind of a non-parenting thing? Is it like, you know, it's like, no, it's intentional. It's
Mm,
everything that we're doing. There's a reason why we're doing it. And we get kind of lost in that when there's been a lot of chaos or challenges or um, you know, you just feel like you're in survival mode, like you're just kind of hanging on. And I've asked parents before, like, where do you as an adult, as a parent, see yourself in 10 years, or what's it going to look like when the kids leave home? And they're just like, I don't know, we've been in survival mode for so long, I can't even think about that.
mm. You know, many times we're not even thinking about the future in those situations. And I heard a song the other day. It was from the 80s, not a big song at all. I'm a geek, I go deep. And it was called Going Through the Motions. And that term is used in romantic relationships mostly. But if you think about it in terms of parenting, just going through the motions, just doing my thing every day, but you're not setting intentions to move things, yeah, maybe even just a little bit forward. How do we do that? New Year's resolutions, they always say stick to goals that you can achieve, make it realistic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you do that in this situation?
Yeah. So one thing that I was love to encourage parents to do is, and I think this is a great exercise to do even with your kids, is just take a piece of paper and fold it in half. And on one half, you're going to have now, and the other half, you're going to have, maybe you can even just put 2025, so that you keep it short term,
Okay.
or you can put future. And I have parents draw or put symbols, or, kind of what it looks like or feels like right now in the now side, and what they want it to feel like or what they want it to be like. And sometimes
Hmm.
it's just stick figures, but it might show the chaos of what it is now or the challenges. And then after they've drawn both sides, I have them draw a bridge from now till then, and then on
Hmm.
that bridge, write down some of the things it's going to take to get there, to get to what you want. And
Wow.
I love it because we kind of know, like we know inside ourselves, like if these changes are going to happen, there's some things I need to do. Maybe it's better communication, maybe it's um, you know pausing some of our activity to do more family stuff, whatever it is. I think we kind of have that sense of knowing, and it just kind of helps to look at a little bit further than just kind of the short game, but also more of the long game of like, what do you want your family to look like? And and I think that we've lost that a lot in our society. It's like we're just kind of like like you said, going through the motions and doing the thing that we have to do, and we forget that we also are the creators of this family and what we want it to look like. And
Hmm.
even though we're going to have challenges that are outside of our control, we can't control everything that happens with our kids and the other people in our family. We still get to have a say of what we want that to look like. And I love giving parents that power back of like, this is your family. Like, what do you want? You know?
And I know maybe it's not realistic, but why not? Don't worry about the how. And that's like one of the major principles of manifestation. This is it over here. This is what, within reason, this is what we're going to achieve. This is what I want. Instead of getting caught up in the minutia of, well, I mean, to get there, I got to do this and I got to do that. No, focus on the end game and get yourself there. And they say in manifestation, it'll happen. Again, within reason. If your child has challenges, they're not going to be cured the next day. They're not going to overcome the next day. But moving that along. And I like what you said. I did that recently. I call it the scale of life. I just put, the pros and the cons, and it actually helped me through a personal situation. This is in the last couple of weeks, and I kind of knew all the answers, but when you see it in front of you, it kind of crystallizes it,
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
keeping it up in your head.
Well, and I think it shows us because what I've found in years and years of doing this exercise with families is that most people what they want is to feel more connected and more together with the people that they live with, like with their kids, and even the long game. Like the long game of parenting is that we want to keep those connections and that we want to be able to be a part of each other's lives in a healthy,
Mm,
functional way, and
yeah.
so and so then there is some intention. We know that if we want to be, better friends with somebody, if we want to have a better relationship, there's some things that we do have to do. But I think sometimes we do get so stuck on, I don't know how this is going to happen, so it's just not going to happen. But then we're
Mm,
kind of focusing on all the things we don't want. And
mm.
I wonder how much that kind of draws that to us, so
Ooh, good point. Yeah, that's one of the principles. Not that I'm a, scientist of manifestation or anything, but that's one of the principles. If you focus on what you don't want, you're going to get it because you're putting it out into the universe. You're telling your subconscious. Even, language changes I've tried to make instead of saying, I can't wait to go to that restaurant. Well, that means you're going to wait. You're telling the universe, wait. Instead, reframe it. It's like, I'm looking forward to going to that new restaurant. Just a different mindset going there. Um, you made me think a second. You always do, but just now, even deeper. And as I was getting out of the car to walk into the studio, I was thinking about texting my daughter and my son and planning just a quick weekend getaway. And the reason I'm bringing that up is what you said before, staying connected. Do you do you suggest different categories in your intentions for the new year? Like, for example, education intentions. This is what I'm intending to have happen, or I'd like to. This is our connection, family connection. What can we do? How can we improve that? This is, it could be after school activities. How we're going to make that better. I'm intending to make plans with another parent to share the riding. Instead of me driving all the time, maybe we can share in different categories. Would that ever make sense?
yeah, I love that. And I think that all of those things, it's like you're making doable, you know, steps for what you want to see happen. And I feel like when you start really focusing on what you want, like those kind of things come to you, right? Like this idea of like, hey, let's just go on this trip, right? It's like, but I also think too, like you can do some of this with your kids. So I recommend like with kids, especially like when you think about like education and if the younger your kids are, it's going to look more different with the goals, but setting down, simple goals. There's some goals I think that parents need to set, like in our family, we're going to use kind words. We're going to give good responses, some things like that. But there's also some things you can sit with your kids and ask them, like, so this first half of the school year is done. How do you want to end the school year? I think
Hmm.
asking people how they want to show up, like, all this stuff's going on, but how do you want to show up? How do you want, what kind of grades do you think that you can get? Or what's one goal you want for this school year? And help them kind of own it so it becomes their goal and their thing that they want. And then you're going to ask them, so how can I help you do that? Like if your goal is to you want to get better grades. And so I try to get really specific with kids. Like, what do you mean by better grades? Like you want to turn your D's into C's or your C's into B's, and let the
Hmm.
kids decide. And I think that if you're as the parent, you're saying you're going to get A's, then you're driving this bus really from the back, right? Like you're trying to motivate them and all of that. But when they say, I mean, I had a daughter that decided her last year of high school she was going to get straight A's. And she just made that decision. And it was from kind of a conversation like this. She was a good student before, but she just wanted to step it up and really strong. And I was like, cool, what can I do to help you? Like, do you need a place to study? Do you need reminders from me, or do you want me to stay out of it? You know, what's going to help you, and let them come up with some ideas. If kids are really highly anxious, you got to stay kind of light on it. And just be kind of like, oh, that's it, that's great. Like, so what's one thing you could do that would help you get better grades? And most kids will say something like, I could turn in my schoolwork. And it's like, that's great. So how about if we have a special folder, or, is it okay if I give you some reminders about turning it in? So different things like that, but trying to
Hmm.
not be too heavy on it, not making it your goal to make them reach their goals, but just having those. And I like writing them down so that the kids can see it. When I go into people's homes and help their families, we have posters everywhere of things that we're working on.
It's not that we're being old school. As I hear it, and I see this come up over and over again, scientifically proven that when you write it down, you're making a definitive connection from your hand to your mind. And it's just, you're locking it in as opposed to typing it. There's something going on. And, I got post-it notes everywhere. And I love technology. I'm geeky a lot like that, but I need it in my face. I need it, screaming at me. I want to say, Michelle, that I didn't deeply consider involving your child in the intentions. And that's beautiful, where you're letting them, with a parental guidance, set intentions for what they want. And then how can I help you get to that? That's like super cool.
Yeah, and even in the fun things that they want, like we call it in the program that I help parents with, we call it putting it in the parking lot. So we use sticky notes. Sometimes we just have a poster board where they can write things that they want, like, because they're on kind of a schedule and have structure, but maybe they want to go, shopping, or they want to, even big things like they want to go to Disneyland, or they want to go, somewhere big, or camping or something. Then they can write it and put it in the parking lot, and then parents can be intentional about, is this, like, when this is going to happen. Like, maybe we're going to do this in 2025. Like, as soon as you can, like, try to put a date to it. So even if it's like, we're not going to go shopping till Saturday, it makes it more real when it's not just sitting there in this
Yeah.
place of like, I wish we could do this. It's like, we are going to do this, and our goal is, to get there by this time, and here's the things that need to happen so we can do that.
You know what it reminds me of? And not to go back to manifestation, sounds like a vision board. You ever hear of that?
Yeah, I used to do that with people too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's staring you in the face, and I'm guilty of not doing it. I started it like a month or so ago, and I started finding pictures of things I want, or goals I want to get. And I didn't print them out yet, but that's my plan. I just want to put it in front of me. I've heard a million times it really works. What do
Yeah,
you got?
it's
What do you got to
great.
lose?
Right? Yeah, and just the thought process of it. It's like, it's fun I think, to make those kind of plans and have things that you're working towards. It's so much better, I think, than having it just floating around in your head. And I think that really, whether you call it manifestation or whatever, it's like, this is a big part of what coaches do, even in other aspects, right? Of
Sure.
of sports, or it's like they help you get from where you are to where you want to be. And to me, it's one of the greatest reasons why families might need a parent coach, because sometimes we just get lost in the daily life. It's like, I don't have time to plan that. I'm working, and I'm trying to get kids to their appointments, and
Even what you said before about having your child set the intention and then the language that you use to help support them was beautiful. I'm sitting here like, oh wow, it would take me longer to verbalize that, just because you want to support them in the right way, but I wouldn't even think of doing it the way you just mentioned it. I sound simple, but to your point, when you're a parent working, multiple jobs, and you got a lot going on. You know, it's hard to see that crystal vision in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes you just need that help, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Like a coach. I mean, look at an athlete. You know, the coach is saying, swing the other way. You know, just take it 10 degrees this way. We don't see that. We don't know it because we're deep into it. Any other thoughts? How can we set those intentions for a brand new year in any area, academics, family togetherness, anything?
I think that if you a good place to start in the thinking may be to just think about in our family, like in our family, what do we want? Like in our family, how are we going to treat people? How are we going to um,
Hmm.
deal with conflict? How are we, just in that that may be something that you can just jot down as it comes to you. I like to do a lot of brainstorming on those ideas first. So, if and sometimes it has to start with the parents of kind of setting the parameters of like these are the values that we have. And
Yes.
so how we want to write those out. It doesn't, I think sometimes people get overwhelmed with like I've got to write a family mission statement, and it can seem so complicated and stuff like that. But it's like, but really we're writing kind of what it is we want. And I think there is something really important about getting it written. And then when you add the kids in, you can have their ideas too. And I like in the brainstorming, it's like kind of anything goes. Like everyone needs to feel valued by their ideas getting written down, and then having parents kind of go back through it and placing those things. It's like, that goal to, go to Disney World isn't going to happen this year, but it is a great goal. And I want to do that before you leave home or whatever it is. Um,
Hmm.
so
I think
yeah, it's just
that is wonderful. I'm in a men's group, been there about 6, 7 months, and there's a big tribe, and then we get paired off individually. So you might be a group of 8 for 3 months here, a group of 8, 3 months here. Every time you're in a different group, we do exactly what you just said. We come up with our standards, and we all talk about it, and yeah, maybe vote on it here and there. It's the same exact thing. And what a fantastic thing to do with your family and involve your children. Like, what are we about? Little Jimmy might say, being honest. That's a good one. Write that one down. Yeah. I don't think any family does that. And it's so important.
Yeah, and one thing I like to ask when kids use words like, our parents use words like respect or being honest, like, okay, so tell me what that looks like. Like, what do
Mm,
you mean exactly? So you can kind of dig a little bit deeper because a lot of times kids, especially if they've been in a lot of therapy, they can say the words, like like I'll ask kids, what are you going to do when you're angry? How does our family handle anger? Oh, I'm just going to breathe. And it's like, okay, well, let's, what does that look like? How can I help you to get to that spot? So
hmm.
just kind of, going with that idea a little bit more. And sometimes that kind of helps um, define it enough to know whether it's going to be realistic or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And the breathe thing, so important. But depending on the age of the child, to explain that it's scientifically proven that, as I understand it, it's a reset button. It's a reset button. When you're going through a challenge, it's a fresh start and it only takes a few seconds. Tell me about your book. I think it's called Parenting Emotionally Distressed Kids.
Yes, parenting emotionally distressed kids. It's a format of like a lot of these philosophies that we've talked about in these sessions, where it gives you an overall view of kind of what I lead parents through in the 12-week program. Gives you some stones. I call it building a bridge. So it's the stones that you put in place to build that bridge.
Mm,
Um, and gives you a lot of helpful, there's some downloads that you can get from the book that are resources that you can use, like a schedule. One of the things I love the most that I probably use so often is called the mountain of escalation. And it tells parents like when kids are at this level, like here's some of the things that you can do. And here's how you can handle it. So really practical overview of
wow.
parenting. And sometimes I wish it wasn't called just parenting emotionally distressed kids because it really works with all of us. Like we all have times when we're distressed or, have stuff. So it just, it's so helpful for parents in general. So I might have to write another book, just more, like just parenting 101, kind of stuff. So the people
Yeah.
will start when their kids are toddlers,
To
so.
breathe, even the simple thing like breathe. I wasn't close with my dad, and I saw him occasionally, but he told me three things: breathe, learn to read, and learn to dance. And when I was a kid, like, and now as an adult, I'm like, damn it, he was right. Of course, learn to read, but the breathe thing. And I was kind of an anxious child. So I guess that's why he was saying it. But we're going back a lot of decades, and he was saying it back then, and we're still saying it now, how it can be so helpful. So, to your point, these things that we might think for, children that have challenges. No, a lot of these principles work for all of us to help move our lives forward and maybe even hit the reset button, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the components of breathing, and this has helped parents because everyone gets told to breathe, but doing it in the moment is so hard. So I've been using more of like, it's okay to pause. Like things start happening really fast. We start talking faster. We start getting louder. The kids, everything starts ramping up. So take just find ways to take a step back and to pause and to reflect, and we
Hmm.
need that so much in our lives.
More and more every day, Michelle. More and more.
Yes,
I look forward to going home, laying in bed, and thinking. It's ridiculous, but I do. Before I go to bed, I'm just like, yeah, all right, now close my eyes. What am I thinking about today? Call it meditation, whatever you want, but I never thought I would look forward to something so simple like that. But to
that's
your point,
awesome.
that's what we need.
Yeah.
We need you. How do we find you?
So you can find me at parentingchallengingkids.com. And if you go to the Get Started page, people can sign up for a 30-minute free consultation. And I can help them with the specific problem they're having right then, and also we could talk about what we could do in the future to help. There's also Parenting Challenging Kids YouTube channel. People can get lots of uh, answers to questions on YouTube with different videos. And I've been doing that channel for a couple of years, so there's tons of videos there.
Beautiful.
Those are probably the two best ways. Or you can go to Amazon and get the Parenting Challenging Kids or Parenting Emotionally Distressed Kids book.
That title of book subject to change.
Yes.
Always wonderful talking with you. You are so grounded and make it sound easy to do these principles. And yeah, a lot of these I never even thought of, it's a game changer, especially setting the intention. You want to do anything, you have to start a business. You have a business plan. You have even a plan for the day. What you should be planning your day. What are you doing? So plan your year with you, your family, and your kids. Thanks so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been great.
I'll be right back.